here. Participation is awesome. We have folks, and
Did you guys want to go ahead and take your spots
yeah,
in front?
please, yeah, are you?
Have the mic if you want to just have one
Yeah,
hold it,
yeah,
and then you guys can use that mic
yeah,
talking.
okay,
This is for the camera.
yeah. We're not doing live stream. We're just recording content, so we can cut it up and send it to you, and you can share it and stuff like that. So,
Cool.
that's the microphone, sort of similar to our sustainability community council, but it's cooler.
Yeah.
They both belong to
It
Joe.
says pro.
Yeah.
So that's how you know it's real.
Yeah, cool. So let's get started. Thank you so much for coming, guys. Thank you so much for joining the panel. The topic of today's panel is what do you think about the state of sustainability ecosystem in Denver, and what do you think we can do to make it stronger and more vibrant? And I know you have some ideas about that. We've talked in the past, and the three of you are Colorado Sustainability Council members. So thank you for joining that group. And yeah, so without further ado, just the rules for today's panel discussion. Very, very simple. Just you can talk about whatever you want. So here you go, as long as you're on point.
Open format is dangerous, man.
Yeah, no. But I'm being silly.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to go through, and not like today in the morning, we're going to go through and I'll ask questions, individual questions, and then a follow up, you'll answer, and then we'll follow up with other questions as well. But to start with, can you go through and just tell us who you are and how you are related to the field of sustainability?
Yeah. Well, my name is Shaun Lane, and I founded Nanocrete, and what we are working on is through a process called pyrolysis, breaking down waste plastics and waste rubber into its constituent carbon products, graphite and graphene. Then we take that graphite and graphene and put it into concrete as a cement solution, with the goal of helping consumers and corporations permanently sequester that carbon into concrete and actually produce a stronger and more durable concrete to boot. So we're trying to tackle multiple problems at once and turn trash into treasure, basically.
That's awesome. We need more of that. Recycling infrastructure in the United States can be better.
It's lacking.
Let me put it that way. One of the exciting things that I've seen in media, and actually just one of the things is Denver passed a regulation that will require packaging companies to pay. Not exactly sure how much, because it's in concept this legislation was passed, but the details are going to be worked out. So packaging companies will be required to pay a small fee for each package that is not being recycled in the city of Denver. And then hopefully that's going to push the packaging companies to come up with more better solutions that can either be better recycled or composted. So what
And
you're doing
helping
is so topical. Yeah.
Yeah, and helping consumers. I mean, that's the goal of these little price nudges, is to help consumers realize that free plastic isn't actually free. There's a cost to it.
There is a cost to it, exactly. And not just the consumers, but also the companies, because we're being, I feel like in the United States, we are being made feel like it's up to us to solve that problem, and we can't, but the big companies with big budgets can. So thank you for sharing that, Shaun. Appreciate that. Elliott? I didn't call you Ben.
Yeah, so I'm Elliott MacCallum. I'm a data analyst, at the moment working in the marketing field, but I also work across climate change modelling. I worked as an actuary for the past 2 years in the UK before moving over to the US. And I worked on essentially quantifying the financial impact of climate change on various companies and businesses, working with FTSE 100 clients to project their carbon emissions and the cost of upgrading, their fleets, their locations, their supply chains to meet a more sustainable future, and kind of doing 30-year projections and essentially presenting business cases to the board of directors saying, if you invest X amount now to migrate your fleet towards a more sustainable future, you'll miss these tax levies on carbon in future, and it will save you a certain amount of money over the next few years. So that's kind of the main direct experience I've had, is working in that field in the modeling side of climate change.
That's awesome. And if it's appropriate, can you share with us your vision for your future as a startup person or startup business? I know you have
Sure.
an idea and we've talked about it, but just
Yeah.
whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, of course. So myself personally, I feel like I want to move from the consulting side where you're giving advice which people have the opportunity to look at, nod their head, say that's really useful, and then go home and not make any actions, to moving into the kind of startup side. So I'd like to move quite aptly, as you mentioned before, into the packaging space. I think that there's a huge scope for improving packaging that is out there. One area that I've focused on that I'm kind of starting to flesh out ideas on is replacing polystyrene or styrofoam. It makes up an estimated 30 to 35% of plastic waste in landfills. And so finding an alternative to that is either compostable or reusable or has some alternate is important. So for myself at the moment, it's looking to make connections and meet new people that can either introduce me to useful technologies or put me in touch with the people where I can work with them in tandem to develop technologies for that.
That's awesome. Cool. Thank you for sharing that story. Ellie?
Hi, I'm Allie. I am a startup consultant. I work with all kinds of startups and focus on climate startups and help them go from big vision to actual tangible MVP, through doing strategic workshops, UX design, and no-code development. And so I love watching these visions for the future come into reality and start to see the impact that it makes. And I'm one of my biggest clients that I am kind of here to represent as well is called CrowdSolve. It's an incubator for climate startups, and so we are founded on the principle that there's a lot of great accelerator programs and incubator programs out there, but only about 1% of startups actually get into those programs. And one of our values is conscious urgency, right? So we need all of these amazing climate ideas to succeed. And so that's why we're building a more accessible platform that will give these awesome resources to all of those wonderful startups. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's a great story, and thank you for representing the CrowdSolve as well. In addition to the name of your company, please.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
My company is called Meep.
Meep.
Mm-hmm.
And just silly question, but how did you come up with the name, or what does it stand for? Just tell us, because I'm sure there's something.
Yeah, it's the road runner, right? Like, meep.
Oh, is that it? I like that. That's why you have the logo. Is that
Okay,
why?
so-
Yes.
Yes.
Conscious, and you called the word is
Conscious urgency.
Conscious
That is
urgency.
one of CrowdSolve's values. Yeah.
Meep.
Yeah, meep, conscious
Yeah,
urgency. Yeah.
that's awesome.
Let's get there. Let's do it.
Well, since you have the microphone, thank you so much for telling your stories. Amazing. It sounds like CrowdSolve could be the platform for some of you, which is really cool. Excited to learn more about them and you as well. And now the next question that we had for the panelists is, since you have Ellie the microphone, we'll just start with you. Can you tell us what's your take on sustainability ecosystem in Denver Metro and Boulder? Just tell us what you think about it, what you have experienced so far, and whatever it is, because we're here to just talk about it.
Yeah, I think I have always been passionate about climate, and so throughout my own startup journey as a former impact startup founder, not necessarily climate startup, I started to meet people through networking events. So I think there's a lot of great events like this one, and I think it's a community that's just a baby right now. It needs to grow, and there are a lot of great organizations like for instance, Women in Sustainability is an awesome one, and they're partnering with really amazing large companies like Patagonia to do river cleanups, and all kinds of cool stuff is going on. I think one thing that a lot of people will tell you is, it needs a little more centralization, a little more easier place to access those resources, and get to know about the events that are going on. But I think I'm really excited about the Denver startup and sustainability community, and how everyone is passionate about it, and so everyone's just looking for a way to get involved, and so there's so much opportunity there.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. And Elliott, same question. That's the topic that we're discussing today. What are your thoughts about the state of sustainability ecosystem in Denver Metro? Knowing that you just got here, how long has it been?
An interesting perspective. For
Was it 6 months? Or
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm just about coming up to 6 months in the US, 5 and a bit months in Denver. Technically, I moved to Miami first and didn't like it, so I moved here.
Made the right choice.
But again, I would echo much of what Ali said. It's about building community and understanding, who are the real people that you can talk to that are committed to making this work. I think, joining the Colorado Sustainability Council is really important. That kind of helps you get in touch with people like this event today, where you can start meeting people that can hopefully put you in touch with the right people, get you in the right place. It's a bit of a bizarre point to make, but one thing I've noticed about Colorado and Denver especially compared to London, for example, is it's incredibly clean. That's not necessarily on the sustainability front.
Cool. We'll take
But the amount of plastic waste that I've seen in the streets is pretty negligible compared to places like the UK. I don't know whether it's recycled properly or not, but it's impressive. But yeah, I guess the main thing is kind of the fact that a sustainability council and these kind of small communities exist is a great start. And as Ali said, it's about bringing people together and how can we centralize what at the moment is very splintered groups.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, to piggyback off what they've talked about, I think really the next step in the bringing the environmental issue to bear for most folks is bringing the seemingly ethereal problems that people read about, but working class people don't necessarily feel as they're a part of it. Part of where I think our opportunity is Colorado Sustainability Council in this is bringing in folks who aren't necessarily a part of the sustainability circle, making it tangible to them the problems that we're trying to solve, and then welcoming them in and offering their solutions that they have that we haven't even thought of. So it's the centralization thing. There's lots of working groups like real estate and industrial engineering that have centralized networking groups that we're trying to basically copy and paste. So it's how do we get those people into the fold?
Yeah.
And that's why I like building materials. It doesn't get much more blue collar than that. The concrete industry is very loath to change. It's very conservative. But when we show them the opportunities presented by incorporating waste materials and showing the dollar side advantage of that, then I think that helps bring in people who are maybe less likely to be a part of these discussions initially. So,
awesome. Thank you. And what is your take on you're Coloradan?
Yep.
Correct.
Native. One of the few.
One out of probably all of us. Oh, two. Oh, shoot. Okay. Oh, not bad. Here you go. Well, you look at him and you know he's from Colorado. No. I don't know, New York City. But no, but what's your take on as someone who's grown up here and has seen how sustainability is transitioning from talking to doing, and now you being a startup founder? What's your take on sustainability ecosystem here in Denver Metro?
Well, I think with where we are, we have a unique opportunity in terms of the various climate challenges that we face here in Colorado, with not just drought, but the actual aridification, the loss of water resources as a whole, combined with a lot more people moving here.
A lot more, yeah. No, right.
Which, I mean, we want people to move here because the state is awesome, but we have to manage our resources that we are finding more dwindling while growing an economy, while keeping it as inclusive as possible. So I think that Denver and Colorado in general has the opportunity in the next half of this decade to really take the lead in sustainable building materials, sustainable building practices, sustainable ecosystem practices, and even just the nuts and bolts of the ESG metrics itself.
Super important.
Yeah.
If you don't measure it, you don't know what to do about it, right?
Yeah, if you can't measure it, you can't do anything about it. So, and it's centralizing the data that comes out of these various accounting methods.
Awesome. Thank you, Shaun. And I'll just add to what you guys said. I have a pretty strong opinion about it. And if I were to just summarize it, I'd say Denver is at the tip of the spear. One of the communities that's at the tip of the spear of sustainability. We have the Office of Chief Sustainability Officer of Denver. We actually pay a very small tax that comes out of everyone's pocket that goes into the fund, the city fund for sustainability programs. E-bikes program, you've heard about it? Yeah? So that comes out of that fund, and many other programs as well. Not exactly sure how many other cities do that, where it's actually a tax that folks pay. Also, we've just talked about how City of Denver passed the legislation to where finally big companies will have to pay a little bit for and take ownership of packaging. There's so much packaging that doesn't get recycled. Having a compostable soup cup is awesome, but if you don't have the infrastructure to get it to an industrial composting facility, it's going to a landfill. So
there's got to be enough restaurant customers
to vote, with their dollars to go to a place that has those systems set up.
Exactly, and the low-hanging fruit for restaurants would be like the food trucks and the small mom and pop restaurants. So circling back, I think that's where communities like this can really bring in folks who feel like they can't make a difference.
Exactly. And just to wrap up that point from my side, I think the parts of sustainability are very well developed here. We have eco products, almost $1 billion company out of Boulder that does compostable packaging. We have Bowl Corporation. That aluminum is infinitely recyclable. Now we've seen water bottles, aluminum water bottles replacing plastic water bottles. That's incredible. We have the city of Denver, but I feel like being here now for 2 years, I feel like that ecosystem is not very well connected. Like Ellie, to your point, we have a baby ecosystem on the sustainability side, which is really different for startup communities, because startup communities, that ecosystem in Denver is very vibrant. Yeah. So Ellie, I like your comparison of the ecosystem in Denver as being a little baby. So, and we're here to engage as members of community to help that baby get on its feet, start walking, playing basketball, and doing all these things. So No, but that's my take on that. And then thank you so much for sharing that. And then the last question of the panel, really, and then we're gonna open up for Q&A. So guys, get ready. That's only 30 minutes long. So you have questions going? No, but the question to each of you is, what can we do as a community to make sustainability ecosystem in Denver Metro, and Boulder stronger?
I would say it starts with having the conversations with people that you may not feel comfortable having the conversations with. Like, hey, did you know that cement production accounts for 8% of global emissions? Oh, okay. Well, why is that? And then, you know, there's little opportunities every day to show people that there are ways of being sustainable in a profitable way. I think that's really the key here with sustainability, is showing that it's not a closed loop system. There's not a finite pie. We're growing the pie. So by being sustainable and eco-friendly, we're going to make more money for more people.
That's awesome. And I think that goes back to Elliott's point about data, and how data is super important to know. Because if you're thinking, oh God, I'm going from a 2-cent package to a 15-cent package, that's sustainable. This is not. Oh my God, that's a lot of money. But there could be things there that organizations are not considering that are already of value.
Exactly.
Yeah. So please, but
I think, further into that, it's kind of people are always inherently aware of the upfront costs when you put them to them. As you said, if you go from a 2-cent package to a 15-cent package, people are looking at that going, Jesus, I can't do that. You know, that's way too much. But they're not looking at the long term. There might be further down the road some tax levies that they're avoiding. There may be some, government benefit schemes that they could take part of that could offset those costs. And so data is core to everything. Obviously, as a numbers man, that's basically my thing. But yeah, understanding the exact implications over long-term view as well as in the short term is crucially important. And then going back to your point of how we can kind of grow this community and what we can do to bolster the community, I think for me it's twofold. Firstly, I'm a strong believer in the saying that your network is your net worth. So in this case, it is all about, as we've said, connecting those splintered groups and engaging in the hard conversations. So you might have people out there that don't believe in climate change, or even believe in it but aren't willing to take action. And it's breaking it down into real tangible steps that they can take in order to improve the state of affairs. It's also, as we said earlier, not pushing the responsibility onto the individual, and empowering companies to make those changes for positive reasons, not vilifying companies that don't make those changes, but trying to say, if you make these changes, people will support you and back you more, rather than if you don't make these changes, you're scum.
Right. Yeah.
And then the second part for me is education. And it's not just from ensuring that school children have a good understanding of why they should be looking after the environment, because in the current social media age, I feel like information spreads so quickly, that's not that difficult to do. The difficult part to achieve is making young people feel empowered that they can make a difference. So going into schools and colleges, and for example, rather than having a startup incubator or like a fund that only goes for people in the real world, going into schools and colleges, there's unbridled information. There's children who you don't have to think about the limitations of the real world. You can come up with any crazy, wacky idea that you want, and you basically have a platform to pitch it so long as it's there for you. So I think that's an important part of the ecosystem that we could build, is going into schools and colleges and giving young people that opportunity to pitch their ideas, no matter how crazy they might seem, to those of us who have lived out here in the real world and think that not everything is sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
We've been told no
Like
too
that.
many times.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Elliott. Ellie?
Yeah. It's obviously like all about connecting all of these disparate pieces that are out there that need to come together to achieve this huge, crazy goal that we have to get to. What is it? 2 degrees.
Stay below 2 degrees.
Yeah. So, and thinking in that way where it's like yes, the academia needs to come together with the real world or outside world, and we need to combine the magic of being able to go down the rabbit hole and understand the science and then bring it into society. And then with that comes this, like these guys are talking about, like understanding that these are real humans that we're asking to change their behavior, and like understanding the actual customer's experience of this amazing new technology that's going to change the world. It can't change the world unless people actually adopt it and start doing it. So I think that's an extremely important piece of it, because it's almost like if we added on a layer of this, what do we need to do to achieve this big goal? It's human-centered sustainability. It's like something. It's sustainable sustainability, right? We need to be able to continue all these practices into the future and not just make some huge sacrifices right now to like do something crazy. Yes, and the other point about having the difficult conversations and making sure everyone who needs to be there is at the table when we're making decisions. Like, I was at an event that CSU put on in Fort Collins on Monday, and it was all these amazing PhDs and scientists at CSU presenting their findings on soil carbon, right? And so how do we sequester it? What are the practices to measure it? And they were going down that rabbit hole. And there were a few of us in this kind of startup world there, which they had invited. But the interesting thing was there were only 2 farmers in the room.
No way.
And so like all the presentations, everything was all about how, these providers are going to need to, or not, sorry, producers was their term for it, are going to need to change their practices, and yet they had not invited
The people who will be
and they had wonderful intentions. It was an amazing event, and it was really enlightening. And they, by the end, everybody was good. Like the farmers kind of stood up and were talking and asking questions, and we were like, "Oh shit!
Oh, we didn't think about that."
More farmers in the room.
Yeah.
So I think it's also about that vulnerability and openness of knowing that we have this huge problem to solve. Not one of us or one company or one government agency can solve it, and bringing everyone to the table and being open to all the different perspectives. So
That's awesome. What a great point that you made. Yeah, it's funny how we get all excited about ideas, but then we forget about the end user.
yeah.
Should have really talked to the farmer to start with.
Solution in search of a problem.
Yeah, that's funny.
And maybe you didn't have to talk to the farmer to start with, because
Well,
right
yeah.
there you need the science and you need
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and but then it's like, how does
Gotta
it come together for them?
Yeah.
His hands in the soil
Yeah, exactly.
every day.
Yeah, and how does it make financial sense for them? And like, the one, the feedback that one of the farmers was giving is like, I need to know how you mitigated all the risk that I'm going to be taking on. Like, you're expecting me to try this new thing and invest in this new technology. Like, what's the risk? How have you tested this? And that's pretty simple for a scientist to do, is go do it and go try it. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And I'd say just great points. And I really like what you said about how we also have to remember that investors need to be involved. It's not just us, the idealists and startup-y people, but it's also the investors.
We know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's the people with money that need to know what we're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's also something. It would be great to first of all know more of who the investors are in our community within the field of sustainability, whether it's energy, whether it's hydro, electric power, whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
and
yeah, please.
there were some funders at the event too. That was kind of the goal of that event, to bring the science with the
Awesome.
funders,
Yeah.
because they were, and the funders were like, yes, we gotta have our, we gotta really be on our toes with our due diligence, right? Because we can't just go and fund this smoke screen startup that's gonna do the carbon offsets and it's not really legit at the end of the line of it. And so it was really reassuring to hear. I've met some really awesome investors and funds that are really taking it seriously and want to make sure they're doing it right. And so
That's
it's hopeful.
awesome. Yeah, we want to see them at more events. So
Yeah.
that's the point, at least for me. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I'm gonna put you on the spot. This was not notified. I didn't notify you before of this question, but it's not even a question. Call to action. Whatever you want for that call to action to be to the community, whether it's in terms of your project, whether it's in terms of ecosystem in general, just one call to action.
I think mine would be give feedback to your lawmakers, to the companies that you're buying stuff from, to the tech products that you're using, because we're not going to be able to shift this into the sustainable, human-centered climate forward movement unless we hear back from people. And I know it takes an extra energy to go and say, oh man, I got this compostable thing and then I took it home and then I don't have compost. Like, who do I tell about that? But that is where it is on us as the regular old people to go and research and see who you can contact and ask them about that.
That's a great point. Yeah, thank you, Elliott.
So for me, it would be don't be afraid to get involved. I found out about this on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I'm here now paneling on Friday morning. So
yeah, good job, man.
pretty quick turnaround.
No barriers.
Yeah, exactly. There is no barriers. So, if this is a conversation that you want to be part of, go out there, join the Colorado Sustainability Council, reach out to anyone here. I'm sure we can all put people in touch with important people. But if you want to be involved in the conversation and you want to be part of this community, don't be afraid to make the first step. That's always the hardest part, is once you get involved, you're ready. I sat for half a day going, umming and erring, going, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could panel. I don't know if I'm ready. And then I just thought, you know what? Take the step. The worst that happens, you embarrass yourself, but you learn from embarrassment. So take that first step. And once you're there, the ball will start rolling downhill and everyone will support you. It's a great community. Everyone here has been so supportive. So yeah, don't be afraid.
Awesome. Thank you. That's a great point.
Yeah, to dovetail off both of them, it's just go, do something. I come from the insurance world where they are still stuck in the past. They're living in the past, man. They're pricing risk and pricing the future based off data that's 3 decades old or more. And then when the Marshall Fire happened, it really hit home, like these multi-billion-dollar publicly traded corporations reaping record profits are nickel and diming people who have literally lost everything for a climate event that they had no personal part in, or just they're a victim of it. So the action that people can take is realize that nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you want to be a part of a better future, then take the steps necessary, and you've got people around you that'll help.
Exactly. That's awesome. And my call to action would be more tactical, agreed with higher level strategic things that you guys talked about. And but tactically, yeah, just become involved. Tech Alley Denver is happens every month. We're gonna have a session every month about sustainability. So if you're out there listening and you're in sustainability ecosystem, please come support this ecosystem. We can build it stronger together. So that's it. Yeah. Thank you so much. And now Q&A. Let's do a bit of a Q&A. Yeah.
All right. I worked in sustainability for a while.
And one thing that I felt was the greatest challenge was the participation and getting people to opt into it. And it felt like everyone I reached out to, the environmental part of compostability, sustainability was very siloed from everything else. So people were just completely unaware of it a lot of the times, and the people that were very involved in it were only involved amongst their peers. So I thought it was a huge detriment. And it's like, how do you share this information and get people enthusiastic about it when your club is so small? So what do you guys think would be some approaches we could do to get incentivize more participation?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, because I came into this space from the industrial hemp sector, because I thought that industrial hemp was going to change the world. But in having the conversation with farmers, they were leery of wanting to plant a crop that they probably weren't going to make any money off of, at least for a couple of years. So you don't find that out if you don't get your boots on the ground and talk to people. So I think that siloing happens when people get comfortable making friends, talking about the stuff that they all agree on, and then there's no discussion of actual like argument or debate. So it's, how do I phrase it? I think it's throwing in the bear in the china shop to make enough noise to get people to be uncomfortable, and reach out to people in a different silo. Like, we're in the sustainability silo, let's go reach out to the insurance silo people, because they're going to want to have and are going to need to be a part of this conversation, as an example. So
Thank you.
Yeah, if you're all right for me to continue on that. I think one part of this from the kind of more corporate side, coming from the consulting side, is as sustainability becomes more in the purview of what companies are having to report on. I can't yet speak to what things are like in the US because I'm not sure, but in the UK, for example, sustainability and carbon emission reporting is being passed into regulation within the next 6 months. So companies will have to start reporting, and will have to start telling people, this is our carbon emissions, these are our projections, these are how we're going to fix things. That will start creating the buzz kind of across industries that it's something that needs to be talked about. And then that's when you need kind of the leaders in sustainability, the people who actually are going to be on the ground driving these new companies, founding these new companies and investing in these new companies, to reach out to those companies and build connections and offer their skills and services.
Yeah, and I think coming from that, there's this world of people who understand it and know about it and know what those reports mean, and then there needs to be a translation in there, and that's where like the education aspect comes in, right? Where people are like, I know they're standing in front of the trash can, right? They're like, there's three buckets. And they're like, first of all, I have no idea which one to put it in, because it doesn't match any of the pictures that are on the wall. And second of all, if I know that if I do put it in, I have no way of knowing whether it's actually going to get recycled or composted or whatever it says it's going to do. So I think there's a lot of work that we need to do around transparency with the systems that exist, even if it is bad news of like, well, your plastic doesn't actually get recycled. We need to go around the triangle and focus more on the reduce and the reuse part of it, right? And that's something that people can get excited about, right? Like the reuse specifically, right? You can say, like, let's all go, thrift store, clothing swap, like reduce fast fashion sort of a thing, So there's plenty of ways that I think we can, if we think in that human-centered way about it, we can go into and meet people where they're at with it, right? Like, I went to an awesome clothing swap the other day, but with a bunch of friends, and it was amazing. I feel like I've got new clothes, right? And someone who doesn't know anything about sustainability but loves fashion could just be into that, you know. So I think it's all about, it is going to take a lot more work because there's so many places where people are at, but that's another kind of layer of this work that needs to be done, is on that human connection level and translation of it.
Yeah, I think just dovetailing off that is like, I'm visualizing like there's Venn diagrams of like, there's a circle for building materials, there's a circle for clothing, there's a circle for packaging. All of those have an opportunity to fit into a singular center where all of those fit together, that then branches back out into the circles where profitability is maximized. I mean, this is the thing that from a corporate standpoint, I'm having a hard time understanding, is like, actually reducing waste is in your best interest. I mean, I just read a great book, The Radical Industrialist. The guy founded one of the largest carpet tile manufacturers in the world. And they went completely carbon neutral long before there was any ever federal regulation for it. Surprise, surprise, they made a lot more money than their competitors. So it's, to your point, how do we unsilo people, is this like scream at the top of our lungs, hey, we've got a way to make a lot more money. Okay, how? Then we have those conversations. Tap into people's self-interest.
Yeah. That's awesome. Great question. Awesome answers, Allie. I did not. That's so cool that you go to clothes swaps. I do that too. Yeah.
Go, and then I was like, whoa, this happened. I'm very glad.
But you know, I as I heard you talk about it, I was like, I've been to these, and people don't really sort of talk about sustainability. So they're just not, you know, because typically people get in and they just get excited. It's a community thing, and people change things, swap things. That'd be really cool. Next time you're at a swap, just be like, hey guys, just want to tell you, I don't know if you know the sustainability aspect of it. This is it.
Totally, yeah, and I think, and we did talk about it.
Oh, you did? Okay,
yeah,
perfect, yeah.
because they're my friends and we were nerding out. But yeah, just taking that extra step to say, oh, and it's sustainable.
Boom.
You know? And then they're like, the word, connection.
That's it,
you know? And it's just very simple to do it that way. And
So
yeah.
cool. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. Guys, what is the, we have, if that clock is right, it's quarter till. So we're coming up to the end, but we have time for 2 more questions. If you do, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah.
Please.
So,
Hold on 1 second.
I am a professional organizer, and so my question is very personal of, I get rid of people's shit. However, how do I facilitate that to be more sustainable in my business? It is really important to me, like, how much of Goodwill stuff actually is going to Goodwill to the next person? It's, to me, that's really hard. How much is actually just being thrown away into the landfill? So I guess the way I want to run my business is this sustainable way of, I know I'm getting rid of people's things, so how can I do better?
Yeah. Well, sorry.
And may I just ask, can you give us an example, just to make it easier? An event, I did an event, this was left over.
Sure.
I took it here, so I think that would help us.
So as a professional organizer, I go into people's homes, and if I'm doing a pantry, so that's twofold. 1, things are expired, or 2, they just don't use them anymore. You go into someone's closet, they're ready to get rid of their clothing. You've got someone who is an older generation who has been holding on to stuff to pass down. Well, millennials have really stopped that. Millennials and younger do not want their parents' stuff. They do not want anything coming into their own home. They've created a life for themselves. So now this older generation has all of this stuff that has been passed down from generation after generation. Papers. Again, the older generation hasn't really gotten into technology. Obviously, you can get it shredded. But so those are kind of my big target items of papers, old antique stuff, clothing, food expired or not expired.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Well, from the clothing and furniture side, I would recommend ARC over Goodwill because they actually help people. And I think part of the realization is where we're at now is there isn't a full ecosystem. Like, a lot of stuff is still going to be thrown away, even if you try your absolute best. That's just the unfortunate reality of it. So how do we find the lowest hanging fruit? In your case, how do we find getting rid of legal documents or just paper documents that isn't shredding it, but, you know, maybe could have a value add, say burning it and creating fuel, you know, cheap fuel for homeless people. I don't know. But to your point, there's a lot of disparate ways of upcycling that don't talk to one another, and there's not really a profitable way to do it, which is why it doesn't exist. So the challenge is you're going to have to find the better that's not perfect, but is still something. So I don't have any other recommendations for you, but I would just say that it is something that if it matters to you, you make the time.
And I would make a recommendation.
Yeah.
Just so City of Denver has a person who helps businesses figure out how to be greener. It's free. I don't know exactly what the application process is, but if you want to talk offline, that person could probably just tactically be like, you can take this here, this there.
Right.
So,
And that's really
yeah.
what I'm looking for. And
Yeah.
like, I know I'm not the only professional organizer in Denver. There
Yeah.
are a lot of us, and we are just getting rid of people's things.
Yeah.
We also are talking about the mindset of like stop buying it. So there's a lot more. There's so much more to it. But the fact of the matter is, they do have stuff. It does need to go somewhere else out of their home.
That's it. Yeah.
So what part can I facilitate and do that sustainably?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
I
it's
think
amazing.
advertising this is not
Thank you.
I'm not throwing things away.
Yeah.
I'm giving it new life.
Giving it a new life. Yeah.
Having that conversation start to finish with your clients, which I'm sure you already do, but is part of the changing people's mindset. I mean, I'm a very big proponent of language being very important in how we talk about this. And you know, some people are turned off by the word sustainability. So how do we have a sustainable conversation without mentioning the word once?
Yeah.
Right, and I was talking to a friend and I was like, I have more of like a minimalistic mentality, even though I have stuff, and she's like, minimalistic or sustainability can be a very off-putting word.
Yeah.
And so just talking about like having a simplistic or a purposeful mindset in
Yeah.
like everything that you do and everything that you buy and the impact, it's purposeful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'd agree with kind of this mindset point we're on about, and this isn't directly something that you could do, but it's something you can help influence, is that the main issue I see, I don't want to offend anybody, but by being slightly younger than other people on the panel, there is a very strong understanding of sustainability among young people, but there is also a very strong stigma against reusing. For example, like clothes. I have so many friends that if you suggested to them the idea of going to a charity shop for clothes or, you know, getting hand-me-down clothes from people, it would be the most disgusting thing to them. They would never consider it. And it's getting rid of that stigma so that there are more avenues in which we can kind of pursue this, so that you don't just have to look at clothing and go, okay, we can break it back down into fibers and do something with those, or we can burn it and create energy. It's like, okay, you can keep it in its current form. That's the least energy consuming thing you can do, is keep it in its current form and find another use for it.
That's so funny. Culturally, in America, I could be totally wrong, but from what I know, it's actually a thing that young people are considering cool. So if you go to a thrift shop in Boulder, and Boulder is a college town, where very rich people send their kids, so they got money.
I will
Boy.
tell you, Boulder is its own country.
No, but even Denver. I said Boulder. I shouldn't have. Probably you're right. It is completely different. But even in Denver,
Yeah.
you go to Goodwill's. So many young people just parceling through T-shirts.
And there are cool thrift shops
I was
now.
gonna
It's a
say,
culture.
This
It's
is what I
it's
was
so
Yeah.
fascinating how culture.
The way it is in the UK is you don't have like a a thrift store. Like, they're not called thrift stores, they're called charity shops.
Yeah.
And they are viewed as the place you go to take your grandparents' old stuff, or like you go through your closet and you sort out your clothes that you don't want and you take them there and you're like, this is my unwanted stuff. So the people who go in there to buy stuff, like, they'll be going in with the mindset of, oh, this is somebody else's unwanted, shoved away stuff that they don't want to pass on.
And see, that's such a simple fix. Instead of charity shop,
Yeah.
you
It's
call it
just
a
the
budget
wording.
store or a low cost reuse store.
Yeah.
And
Something
it's not
along those
even
lines.
about low cost.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Those are consignment, makes
Yeah.
it fancy.
Yeah, I mean, and it applies to multiple things. Like, just thinking, like, off the top of my head, for example, when I moved here to the US, I had a bunch of sports items that I couldn't bring over from the UK for cost of moving over and everything else, and also I had delays to some of my items. So, for example, I play golf. I wanted to play golf. I went to a store that's called Play It Again Sports, which is everywhere here, which I think is fantastic.
Amazing.
I've been there. I've bought snowboarding boots. I bought a pair of brand new, pretty much brand new, like unworn Burton snowboarding boots for $25. And it's like somebody has just gone in and just like, I don't want these anymore. And the way that store is set up, it's like the naming doesn't indicate, cheap, given away by other people. The store layout is pretty good. It's a really, really good way to get people to come in, and you're not going in thinking, oh, I have to buy new things every time. So I think that kind of culture is something we should encourage. And actually, for myself, coming from the UK, is something that if I ever do go back to the UK, is something I would bring with me, and it's something I would promote to my friends back in the UK to engage in.
Welcome to America.
But I think to address your question, like, it is proven that people will pay more for things that are sustainable, right? And building it into your business model, kind of like we're saying, right? Like, yeah, maybe pay more and we'll make sure this goes. And it, like, frustratingly for you probably, it is going to be like Shaun's saying, like a matter of going down each road of this specific type of thing that people get rid of. This is where it goes. But once you do that, you are the expert in that, which to me, this is in itself is a whole new business that you could create, because you see this problem and it's a real problem. And so I would almost want to just be like, there's kind of a responsibility on you as the person who sees this problem to feel that conscious urgency and to create the solution for it.
Yeah, some professional organizers leave it up to the client. Some professional organizers take it upon themselves. It definitely comes back to a time commitment as well. And so it's just where are the efforts, or where is the extra support, or and part of it is the accessibility and just the knowledge of, like, if I know that I only have to spend an hour bopping through Denver to appropriately distribute whatever it is, fine. But if it's a huge task, I think that's why things get dumped at Goodwill. And that's why garbage gets dumped at Goodwill as well. And it's the quick solution, right? Where you're doing your part enough is how people think. And it's then up to Goodwill or ARC or whoever. And I actually, I prefer ARC or the Salvation Army 100% more than Goodwill, but
Sometimes you don't have a choice.
sometimes you don't have a choice, whether it's time or where location or whatever it might be. But
And I would like to question that, what you guys just said. Sometimes you don't have a choice. We always have a choice,
you're right.
right?
We do. For
There's-
sure.
But to making the time
Yeah,
for it,
and
or
it's,
the resources, or having an extra
Yeah.
person to hire that is going to do
Yeah.
this part, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be.
and to solve this big problem, we're gonna have to make hard choices, and we're gonna have to make compromises, and so that's why I think these are the tough conversations, right? That's I think the mentality that has led to the issue that we're facing today, right? Convenience, and so someone who can figure out how to make it convenient to do
Right.
that's a
That's
$1
I
million
wish it was
business.
way more convenient than
Yeah.
will drop off.
So now
how to get there.
the universe is trying to do that through you,
No, I think Allie's point is amazing. We sort of in the startup thing, and you're actually an entrepreneur, a small business owner. We have a lot in common. But I think what you're saying is, you've identified a problem, and if collectively or individually you figure out the supply chain here in Denver, that could be in and out of itself an additional revenue stream. That's
Yeah.
at least a minor point that
Yeah,
I got.
yeah, yeah.
Other than, of
It's-
course, you have a
It's
choice.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a big one.
Just an aggregator of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? It's just because we
Yes.
love to talk about it.
Yes.
We love to talk about things like that. Yeah.
What'd
Guys,
you-
we are. Guys, we're super out of time. There are other sessions, and I know you have several sessions, but maybe we can sling a quick question
Yeah.
and one answer.
who's coming next is not even here.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I just want to. Yeah.
So I just wanted to make a question for the average Joe out there, who is at their own house thinking about what they can do for sustainability when they're, like you said, they're looking at their trash cans and they don't know what to do, and is it even doing anything? And big rumor about COVID, about us not working with China anymore, so we're not recycling because we can't send anything over to China, so it's just going into the trash anyway. What is one of the things that you would say to the average person to contribute to sustainability?
Yeah, I would say again, like, looking at the other points on the triangle, right? Reduce and reuse and start at the beginning of that process. Like, you have this piece of recyclable-ish trash in your hand. How did it come to be in your hand? What choices, again, with our ability to choose, right? We always have the ability to choose, even if it feels like it's uncomfortable, right? We can look at the baggies at the store that are made out of plastic, or we can go to a more specialized store and get some reusable kind of baggies type rubber things that my parents have started using, which are kind of weird but cool. So, like, taking the extra step and doing what's uncomfortable and maybe a little more inconvenient to stop that cycle at the beginning of your part of it. That's our responsibility, I feel like, as normal people.
May I just? This is a passion of mine. No, just a couple of things. One is, please recycle. Don't throw everything in the trash. So if you have a way to recycle, just recycle. It's really easy. It's not that
And
hard.
if you're recycling, don't crush your cans. Leave them uncrushed.
Uncrushed. That's
Because
right.
sometimes they use the blower thing.
Do let them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's how Murph works a lot of the times. So yes, that's absolutely right. So tactically, strategically, please recycle. It's really easy, especially if you have the city blue recycling bin. Now it's a toll task to ask for people to learn what's recyclable, what's not, because then whatever they learn may not be applicable in their municipality. So but start recycling. So that's number one. Number two, real quick, tactically, so cans, don't squish them, keep them open. Coffee cups, you went to Starbucks, you got the coffee cup at home, don't throw it in the trash. Throw it in a recycling bin. They are recyclable.
They
then
are?
Everything
They-
but that little plastic thing that
Yeah, they are recyclable.
Oh, nice.
So please do that. And then third, I would say, if you get the plastic bags, and I know there's a tax of 10 cents on a plastic bag. I try not to use them, but I do. And what I'm doing, I'm collecting them in a little place under my cabinet, and then I take them to a Home Depot store and just put them there once I have a big thing. So
King
those are the
Soopers
three.
also has a recyclable right at their front door. So if
Which
you
one?
go- King Soopers.
King Supers, yeah, they
so
do,
you
yeah,
Just go there. You put it
yeah.
down. When you're recycling thing, I was going to say here in Colorado, one of the biggest problems with recycling is if you recycle a lot like we do, the bin is not picked up often enough. I wanted to add for your listeners that
Yes.
you can get as many recycling bins as you want for free. We have 3 of them behind our house
Oh, wow.
currently because they only pick up every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks, yeah.
And that your recyclables build up a lot.
Yeah, and thank you to the city of Denver for doing that. That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. So shout out to the city of Denver.
And I think you can get compost bins.
That there are 130 $35 a year,
a year,
which we
yeah.
have.
Okay.
So we do have that as well. We use it for our leaves and grass cuttings and food.
Don't rake your leaves. Leave your leaves.
Leave your leaves, yeah, leave your leaves, yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We have people coming in for the next session. Thank you for the panelists, to the panelists for taking your time. Thank you for the wonderful listeners and the Q&A. And thank you, Tech Alley, for hosting this event. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate you coming, man. Thank you, Elliott. Thank you, Elliott. So cool.
Thanks for